It started as an ordinary day at a local coffee shop, but things quickly took a shocking turn. A confident, well-dressed black man walked in, smiling politely as he joined the line. Across the room, a woman's sharp gaze followed him. Her whispers to the barista grew louder, and within moments she marched over, her voice firm and filled with disdain. "You don't belong here," she said coldly, trying to force him out. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the confrontation. But what she didn't know was that the man she was trying to humiliate wasn't just anyone. He had a story, a presence, that would leave her speechless. As tension rose and emotions spilled over, something incredible happened that no one in the cafe could have seen coming. Stay tuned to find out how this encounter flipped her world upside down in a way she never expected. The man stood there calmly, his face unreadable as the woman continued to raise her voice, accusing him of disrupting her space. People in the cafe exchanged uneasy glances, some whispering among themselves, while others avoided eye contact altogether. The man didn't react. No anger, no frustration, just a quiet confidence that only seemed to aggravate her further. "You need to leave. This isn't a place for someone like you," she spat, her words cutting through the heavy silence. Behind the counter, the barista hesitated, unsure of how to intervene. A few customers shifted uncomfortably in their seats, but no one stepped forward. Meanwhile, the man's calm demeanor remained unshaken. Finally he spoke, his voice steady yet commanding. "Ma'am, I think you've made a mistake." His words hung in the air, but the woman was too caught up in her assumptions to notice. What he said next would change everything. The woman crossed her arms, glaring at him with an air of superiority. "Mistake," she scoffed. "I know exactly what I'm saying." Her voice was sharp, but the man remained composed, his steady gaze meeting hers. The room felt heavy with unspoken tension, the kind that makes every small movement seem amplified. A young couple sitting nearby exchanged worried looks, their discomfort clear, but like the others, they stayed quiet. The barista, clearly nervous, finally tried to interject. "Ma'am, maybe we should just..." But she cut him off with a dismissive wave, her attention fully locked on the man. "I don't care who you think you are," she snapped. "This isn't your kind of place." The man took a slow breath, as if choosing his next words carefully. He leaned slightly forward, his voice low but firm. "You might want to think before speaking further," he said. For a moment, her confidence faltered, but she quickly recovered. "Why? Who do you think you are?" she shot back, her voice dripping with sarcasm. As the cafe held its collective breath, the man's lips curved into a faint smile, not of arrogance, but of certainty. "You'll find out soon enough," he replied. The mystery surrounding him only deepened, leaving the room buzzing with silent curiosity. The woman stared at him, her frustration boiling over. "Enough of this nonsense," she snapped, her voice rising. "You're either leaving now, or I'll call someone to deal with you." She reached for her phone, her hands trembling slightly, though whether it was from anger or something else, no one could tell. The cafe felt frozen in time, every pair of eyes glued to the unfolding scene. The man didn't move, his calm presence somehow making her actions seem more frantic. He tilted his head slightly, as if studying her, before finally saying, "Go ahead. Make the call." His words weren't a challenge, but a statement, one that carried an air of quiet authority. The woman hesitated, her phone still in hand. Something about his tone seemed to shake her, but she pushed forward. "Fine," she barked, dialing quickly. But before she could even speak into the phone, a voice from the back of the cafe rang out, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Stop." Everyone turned toward the source, a man in a crisp suit, walking toward them with purpose. He locked eyes with the woman, his expression stern. Her face paled as she recognized him, but it was the next words that left her visibly shaken. "Do you even know who you're talking to?" he asked sharply, pointing to the man she had been berating. The crowd leaned in, their curiosity and disbelief building. The woman froze, her confidence crumbling as the man in the suit approached. His sharp, commanding tone pierced through her bravado, leaving her visibly unsettled. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, trying to regain her footing. Her eyes darted between the suited man and the one she had confronted, confusion and unease written all over her face. The man in the suit stepped closer, his expression growing more serious. "You don't have any idea who you've been disrespecting, do you?" he said firmly. He turned to the calm man, his demeanor instantly shifting to one of respect. "Sir, I'm so sorry for this," he said, his words startling everyone in the room. The woman's face flushed with embarrassment, but she still tried to stand her ground. "Who is he then?" she demanded, her voice shaky but defiant. The suited man hesitated, glancing at the black man as if asking permission to speak. The man gave a small nod, his calm smile still in place. "He's the owner of this cafe," the suited man revealed, his voice echoing through the now silent room. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and the woman's face turned a deep shade of red. She stumbled over her words, trying to process what she had just heard. "The owner," she whispered, her voice barely audible. But just as the tension seemed to reach its peak, the calm man spoke again, his tone even and deliberate. "And there's something else you don't know," he said, his eyes locking onto hers. The crowd leaned in, the weight of the moment growing even heavier as they waited for what he was about to reveal. The woman stood frozen, the weight of her mistake sinking in. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The man she had berated remained calm, his expression unreadable as he took a step closer. "Yes, I own this cafe," he said quietly, his voice steady. "But that's not all." The room grew impossibly still as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a sleek business card, handing it to the man in the suit. "I'm also the CEO of the company that owns this entire chain," he continued, his tone polite but firm. The woman's eyes widened in disbelief as the reality of the situation hit her like a tidal wave. She glanced around, hoping for some kind of support, but the silent judgment on the faces of the other customers offered none. "I came here today because I like to visit my locations unannounced," he explained, turning his attention back to her. "It's important to me to see how my staff and customers are treated. Unfortunately, today has been revealing." The woman stammered, desperate to explain herself. I didn't mean to," she began, but he held up a hand, stopping her. "No need to apologize," he said calmly, though his eyes betrayed a deeper disappointment. "Your actions spoke louder than any apology could." Just as she thought the humiliation couldn't get worse, the suited man spoke up. "And for the record," he added, "this cafe has a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. You'll need to leave." The woman's face crumbled as she realized there was no way to undo what she had done. With the eyes of the entire cafe on her, she grabbed her bag and hurried toward the door. But as she reached it, the man called out one last thing. "Wait," he said, his voice calm yet commanding. She paused, glancing back nervously. "I hope this experience teaches you something," he said, his gaze steady. "Because kindness and respect cost nothing, but they mean everything." She said nothing, just pushed open the door and disappeared into the street. The room remained silent for a moment, and then a quiet murmur of conversation broke out. The man turned to the barista, offering a warm smile. "Now," he said, "how about that coffee?" The cafe slowly returned to life, though the air still buzzed with the weight of what had just happened. The barista, now more relaxed, quickly prepared the man's order, his hands moving with renewed energy. The suited man lingered for a moment, exchanging a respectful nod with the cafe owner before stepping out, leaving the space quieter but filled with a sense of closure. The man took a seat by the window, sipping his coffee as the other customers glanced his way, their expressions a mix of admiration and quiet respect. One by one, the cafe's patrons seemed to settle back into their routines, but the lesson of the encounter lingered. Before leaving, the man looked around, catching the barista's eye with a warm smile. "Thank you for your professionalism today," he said kindly. As he walked out, the message was clear: humility, kindness, and respect always leave the strongest impression.